Hello and welcome to Culture Vultures. I'm Sandy Frye, your host. Our creative director is Nancy Cole, and this is a program that examines culture all around Tampa Bay. Dog days of summer are with us, but heat and humidity don't seem to affect the Arts Council of Hillsborough County. They're busy at work as they always are year-round. Just recently, they awarded grants to 11 area artists. They included writers, photographers, dancers, filmmaker. And that isn't the only project they have which awards the arts. We have two guests here who have a very, very close connection to the arts in this county and beyond. And that is Terry Simons.
Yes.
And she is a member of the Arts Council of Hillsborough County and is currently working with 5 by 5, which she'll talk about very shortly. And the director of community panel, which is, how many people are in it?
How many people
yeah,
are on the council?
The board of directors.
The board of directors, right.
There's, 25?
I was on the council at one point, and they certainly weren't that many. That's very good.
Yeah.
Particularly since the council was created in 1967, and it had for its operating budget $12,000 for the entire year, which is amazing. But since then, they've done a lot. Although the 3 mandates that they began with was first to promote, coordinate, and develop the arts, and second to contract for artistic services, performances, and exhibitions, and finally to develop a center or a complex of facilities. And each in its own way has been treated very well. Now, John Thompson,
Yes.
You are an architect and a long-time resident of Tampa.
Yes, I was born in Tampa and currently serve as chair of the Arts Council of Hillsborough County.
Yeah.
And I am the president of Wilder Architecture Incorporated.
Right, and you were vice president of the, or is it called vice chair of the?
Yes, was vice chair last year of Arts Council.
And you are now chair.
Currently the sitting chair, yes.
And how has it been?
It's been great. It's been a fun time. It's been an interesting year, and we can get into some of the issues that the BOCC has asked us to consider. But things are going well, and thanks to Terry, 5 by 5 is about getting ready to get started on its 3rd successful year.
Right, Terry. I know you're fairly recently with the council, but tell me about 5 by 5 to begin with, because it will be coming up before we know it. And you've got an alert call out to artists.
Yes, we just put our call to artists out for 5 by 5 2014. 5 by 5 began as a project of the Arts Council's Artist Advisory Committee. They wanted to do a project that would ensure there were funds available for the individual artist grant program. We had to suspend that program in 2011. And in 2012, we held our first 5 by 5 event at the Tampa Museum of Art, who is our partner, our collaborative partner on that. And then last year was our 2nd year, going into now our 3rd year. The event is October 17th at the museum. We raised almost $13,000 last year.
It's fabulous.
At 5 by 5. The night is a celebration of the arts for all disciplines. It's open to the public. There is an admission charge, which benefits the Tampa Museum of Art. Our attendees come in, almost 900 people attended last year.
Oh my goodness.
And it was packed. It was a great night. We raised money through the sale of 5-inch by 5-inch artwork, and that is displayed anonymously. So when you go in, you see the exhibition of the 5 by 5 art, you don't know who the artist is, so people purchase that for a flat fee of $25. That money goes to fund individual artist programs from the Arts Council. We last year had 725 pieces of art from about 450 artists that were from throughout not only the Bay Area, but the United States and 10 other countries.
How nice.
Yes, so it was a big exhibition and very successful. Like I said, we raised $13,000. We had about 38 performing artists on the night of the event that performed in theater, spoken word, music, dance. It was, like I said, all disciplines. And this is all coordinated by our Artist Advisory Committee. It's a great night. It's a wonderful night. So, and each year we've raised a little more money. So this year we hope to raise even more. Artists are invited to submit their 5-inch by 5-inch pieces of art. And this year, like I said, we put the call out on 5x5tampabay.com.
Well, I trust it will be every bit, if not more, successful this year because the word is out. And you're going to see some of the images that have come from the 2 years before. And for $25, it's just like finding gold somewhere.
Oh, it is. Some of the artists are well known,
Yeah.
and their work will normally sell for much, much more money. Other artists are emerging artists.
Right.
It's really all different levels of artists and also types of art.
Now, does the artist's name, is it finally revealed when you turn it over? You've bought
Yes.
it and you can turn it over and...
Yes, when you purchase the art, you can turn it over and there's information about the artist. They've signed it on the back.
Right.
There's information about the artist, the piece of art, how to contact the artist, and things that would be something a buyer might want to know.
Right.
The event was conceived not only to raise money to be able to continue to fund individual artist grants, but also as a way to show the area all the different types of art that goes on here, both visual and performing, and to encourage collection of art.
Yeah.
So the art is displayed anonymously or in an anonymous fashion. There's people who buy their very first piece of art at 5x5 and then continue, we hope, to buy art that they like other times of the year or to come back to 5x5 and add to their collection.
With 5x5, you can do a whole wall.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
sure.
Oh, yes.
That's good. Well, that, of course, is not the only series of grants to artists, but to cultural organizations as well.
Yes.
And
yes.
how does that work?
Well, we have a program that's called the Cultural Development Grant Program.
Right.
That is an annual program as well. Individual Artist Grant Program takes place. We open that up at the end of the calendar year with awards made at the beginning of the year. The Cultural Development Grant Program is opened up in the summertime. So we're in the midst of that now, the application process. Organizations that attended our workshop a few weeks ago are busily writing their grants and will be submitting those August 8th. And so that is judged by a panel of 7 individuals who have experience and expertise in different disciplines. So they read through the grants, they score them. Those awards are recommended in September at a public meeting and then brought to the board for approval. And then those grants that were recommended for funding receive their funds during our next fiscal year, which is 2014-15.
Right. I see.
And one of the things that we just did to tweak the process this year was, since there is more funding that's available into the process this time, the panel made the recommendation that the top applicant in each category receive full funding. In the past, it had been, if full funding wasn't available, it was prorated amongst the applicants who were deemed to be acceptable and eligible and scored high enough. This year, we're trying to encourage people to be involved, but encourage them to really put their best foot forward and provide the best application so that we can say that you, as an applicant, were what we really wanted to see. You were the highest scoring, you get full funding. And then from there, as the monies are available, we fund additional ones behind the first place,
Right.
behind the first place applicant.
That's very interesting. But you know, I think for the until about maybe 5 to 7 years ago, I think that the organizations in the county and in Tampa itself were concentrated on making their mark, and they were not the prices they ask for admission and so forth are very reasonable. The talent is steadily growing, I think, and certainly downtown has suddenly come to life. Not suddenly, but for me, I remember downtown you could go on any Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday after work, and nobody was there. Nobody was there at all. So that is one of the great, I think, differences that the Arts Council has made, because they saw what was happening and they began to understand that here is this audience that could grow immensely as we get more arts organizations. And the second thing is, do you ever interact with anyone from, let's say, St. Petersburg? Because what has happened, as I observe it, is that in the years past, the two museums never interacted with one another particularly, and they had theirs, we had ours, and so forth. But now there is a great reaching across the bay, which it makes so much sense and has so many marvelous results. Do you interact with any of those panels or groups?
We invite individuals from across the bay to come and participate in the scoring of the grants.
Oh, good.
But I think that one of the highlights of the past year has been launching the Power to Give website for the Arts Council of Hillsborough County. But the good thing about it is the applicants that can participate in the site are both in Hillsborough County and Pinellas County.
I see.
So it's 2 counties, and the website is power2give.org, and it was recently launched, and it provides crowdfunding type methodology for folks who have arts projects that they want to undertake. And oftentimes there's matching sponsors that go along with it. So if you donate $25 to a particular organization or event that you want to have happen, matching funds come to bear on the project as well. So it's a great way for all of the smaller arts organizations and larger ones in both counties to expand the funding that's available. So it's not just coming from the Arts Council or from the state, it's also coming from other crowdfunding sources, from people just reaching into their wallets and funding these projects in both counties.
That's great. That is good.
Power to Give is raised. We launched Power to Give at the beginning of this year. And we've raised about $50,000 for organizations on both sides of the bay. And those organizations have had all different kinds of projects. It's very project specific. So it might have been helping to send kids to camp, or it may be to buy puppets for a production that they're going to mount. So it might be a theater organization, it might be a music group, it might be a community service group that has an art program. There's all different types of projects, so that if you go there, you should be able to find a project that speaks to you, that maybe inspires you, and you can give. Even a small donation helps these groups put these projects together and bring arts to the Bay Area.
Oh, that's terrific.
Right now, we're fortunate enough to have a matching grant from the Lightning Foundation. So every donation is matched 50 cents on the dollar.
Oh, that's terrific too.
And in the very beginning, we were very fortunate to have Bank of America help us underwrite the cost of starting this program. It's part of a national platform.
Yeah, it is. Bank of America also, doesn't it support having museums open to the public on given Sundays, I think, or maybe weekends, all around America?
Well, they have a program with the Tampa Museum of Art, and I'm not sure I know all of the details of that, but they do provide funding to have the museum be open without charge.
Yes, and that's terrific. As a member or a director, actually, the guiding light of your committee, what do you foresee in the future? You have right now two and actually two of the first goals are really in the works, and they were from the very beginning. That is to promote and coordinate and develop the arts. That goes on all the time, even with just $12,000 a year. At that time, they didn't have a directorate. They had one secretary. And the second was to contract for artistic services and exhibits and so forth, and that's done. The third was develop a center or a complex of facilities, and that really has happened. Just by itself, but not entirely by itself. There was a very concentrated group of arts lovers and those who have had some experience in building an art center, which is why, although everyone else was expecting just one concert hall, for example, they accepted the notion that each of the arts had to have a physical facility that was appropriate to what they did. And so, in other words, a symphony could be done in a theater, but it would sound as good as if the acoustics were specifically designed. And I think that that is very a difficult thing to understand. I remember a long time ago when we were thinking of raising money for the arts. We were going to try to get some of a grant. And someone said, well, you don't need it. You've got the, it was at that time the center downtown. It was named for a mayor, and since I wasn't there when he was mayor, I don't remember his name, but they had basketball there, they had everything there. And someone said, well, no, you can't have a concert in a basketball court. And someone who was in the audience said, why not? And I thought, oh dear, this isn't going well. But nonetheless, those people who made it sort of a devoted practice of trying to get as much for the arts development in the right way. They just kept at it. And although that didn't particularly work, other things did. And I think that's great too.
I think that was part of the Hillsborough County's Cultural Development Plan. Perhaps that's...
Well, it was, but also it was, at that time, I think that every town who wanted to could do a 2 cents for the arts that would be tacked on for a limited period of time for like the sales tax, to the sales tax. And that didn't fly. It didn't fly in Miami either. So it was the sign of the times. And what I see now is with more young people coming in and such interesting places as Oxford Exchange, the things that are going on at the University of Tampa, and just the general appetite for culture and for new ideas and for new ways of saying it, which is great. As a longtime resident, I kept thinking to myself, I hope we get going, and we got going, which was great.
I think we've seen culture develop locally.
Absolutely.
And especially through the grants program for organizations. We've been able to see that each year, new organizations that are applying that our grants are for nonprofits. And so what we see is typically programs coming from the nonprofit sector. But we see more theater groups. We see the development in Seminole Heights in South Tampa with galleries and with organizations that are providing arts programs. Definitely more and more of that. In the last couple of years, Seminole Heights has really taken off. Well,
that's another thing. There is a development of cultural center down in South County. And I could add that...
The Ruskin Firehouse.
Right, yes. The Ruskin Firehouse. And also in South County, by now I think it's probably 3-4 years old, there was a new library down in South County.
Yes.
And a gentleman in his will, provided, I think, $10,000. It might have been more, but this is what strikes me at the time, for an art lab, because he thought children and adults deserve it.
Right.
And it was a very, very well taken project, and everybody loves that. And they have an artist, I'm told, who is there on a very regular basis, and she is quite good. So there are many, many things that that can be done. It takes, I think, the quantity of people and the desire to do it.
Well, I think that the mission of the Arts Council, we really aren't intended to develop a physical plant of facilities, but the county recognizes that it's important to have creative minds in the county and encourage the artistic expression and participation, because as we move into the 21st century, we have people that are thinking about relocating companies because they aren't necessarily constrained in ways that they used to be. We find ourselves as a city, Tampa, competing with other regional cities for talent, and people want to live where there are arts and beaches and great things.
That's it.
But for the Arts Council, if we can make sure that money gets distributed to the community, to organizations, to individuals, that encourages people to participate and be involved, and kind of get a slow boil going on the local arts scene throughout the county and beyond into Pinellas with Power to Give, there's an opportunity to have the community grow and participate in the arts. I mean, like you were talking about with downtown Tampa. I mean, really, a long time ago, you're right, nobody was there.
No, nobody was
and
there.
And really, all it took from an architect's perspective was putting housing down there. Now you have people that live down there, and those people want to live in a nice place. And there's art that supports their lives down there as they walk their dogs or whatever. There's new art installations, there's new parks. And so where there's people, there will be art. So I've been pleased to see the downtown grow in that direction, as well as the Channel Side District. And Seminole Heights, since I live there.
And we forgot the Tampa Theater because the Arts Council took upon itself the development of the Tampa Theater, and look what it's done now. It's great.
Well, the Tampa Theater was one of the places that you went to as a kid in Tampa on a field trip, and I can remember just being there as a kid thinking, this is the greatest space.
That's right, and it was the first to have air conditioning.
Yeah.
I'm surprised the whole town didn't meet there because air conditioning was really the thing that I think brought a lot of people to Florida. Not that they didn't want to swim and just enjoy the scenery, but air conditioning helped.
See great art.
That's right. Well, is there any other thing in the future that you'd like to mention now? Because we, believe it or not, only have 3 minutes left. So tell me about what some of the things that will be going on, let's say, when school begins again. We have the 5x5.
5x5 is in October. We have a workshop coming up in a couple of weeks for individual artists about writing exhibition proposals. And then in August, when school actually starts, our Artist in the Schools program will be back in full swing, and that's where the Arts Council has yet another segment of the Arts Council is for education programs, field trip programs. I know when I was a kid, getting to go on a field trip and see the symphony was one of the first things I encountered that made me love the arts. And we provide those kinds of programs as well. We contract with artists to go into the schools or to provide field trip programs for kids to go and see great art, theater, music, dance. And that'll kick off in the fall as well.
Oh, good. That sounds like a very good thing. And you sort of put together those things that the libraries also have visitors for youngsters to try to encourage them to read and keep on reading. And I think that the Rays have a sort of a visit the library's program that one of their members thought of and is a visitor to. So that's still another thing. And it's nice because it incorporates sports into art and makes it not an either-or kind of proposition.
The Rays have actually been pretty good about incorporating arts into their home games too, because they contract with one of our grant recipients. Bits and Pieces Puppet Theater performs when they have home games.
Right.
And so they've been providing access for the kids who are going to the games, and they can see a puppet show while they're there.
That's great. Well, you see, arts endure and arts entertain and comfort. They do an awful lot for not only for individuals, but for a town. And I think that we have a great future ahead. Thanks for being with us.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It's good.